Welcome to the Simplified Marketing Podcast. Straight talking ideas to grow your business.
Hi, and welcome to the Simplified Marketing Podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or visit marketingsimplified.co.uk to see all of our recent podcasts. So today we're here with Nick from Nilco. Hey, Nick.
Morning.
So, Nick, do you want to give us a little overview, first of all, about Nilco? Tell us what it is.
Okay, well, Nilco is a tool hire and general builders merchant. What does that mean? Well, it means that you can get anything from us that you'd get from Travis, B&Q, but also we hire equipment as well. So we're a bit of everything for anyone in the trade or public, I suppose, yeah.
So for our listeners, whereabouts are you based?
We're based in Woodford Green, Essex, which is just off the North Circle Road in North East London.
Okay, very good. So tell us how you got into the industry then.
Okay. I left school, I would say I was 17 probably. I left school like most people. I walked out that door and I thought, what do I do now? So I went home. I worked a little bit in my parents' restaurant, being Greek. They always had a restaurant.
Loving the food.
Yeah, but I thought, well, this is not the life for me. And how can I put it? I didn't work for a while. And I remember my mum giving me a boot out the backside and said, when are you going to do something? So I got introduced to a company called Hilti through a works agency. They were based in Angel Islington, I remember. And they said this job on offer fixing tools. And I thought, okay, I like tools. I always like working with my hands. So I went for the interview, got the job. As today they call them plant fitters, where you repair machinery, but this was repairing Hilti machinery. Anyone in the trade knows Hilti. Hilti is the number one, even today, when it comes to fixings and tools. They are the market leader and a fantastic company. I worked there for about 5 years, learning the trade, and it was mainly tools. From there, I moved on to a hire company called Lance Plant Hire, where I learned more about the bigger equipment. I then set up a business with two ex-Hilti representatives, that were salesmen, if you like, and we set up a company in East London just doing the hire equipment. From there, I moved to a company, again, I left there as a partnership and went to another partnership in North London, in Middleton Road, I think it was, and we set up, it was an existing builders merchant, and I went and joined them to bring in the hire side and the fixing side. And that's where I learned about all the other materials and the paints and everything. And from there, which was 26 years ago now, we split up, all went our own ways, and I set up Nilco. Nilco was set up initially, I didn't really want to do the materials, but we set up initially as a hire company and a fixing company, which was my core, and power tools, I should say, I mentioned power tools. That is my core knowledge. But because people knew me, they kept saying, oh, Nick, well, when you bring that drill, can you bring us a couple of bits of timber or a couple of sheets of plasterboard? And I thought, well, I don't do that no more. They said, well, yeah, but you must be able to get it. And the rest is history, as they say. That has now become the biggest part of our business, the building material side. So my core, which is power tools, hire and fixings, is still there, and it's still bringing in a good revenue. But the main part of the business has turned into the building material suppliers, which is, I suppose, you have to go with the flow.
It's not what you set out to do.
It's not what I set out to do.
It
was. It's a happy, maybe not a happy accident, but certainly it's a happy ending. Hope not an ending yet. I'm still involved.
I'm going to say, still going strong.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's where we are today.
So tell us about your most prestigious project today.
Oh well, we've supplied many projects. Where we've had some big clients working on some very big projects. Heathrow Terminal 4, when that was being built, we supplied material there on hire. Gatwick, the North Terminal is the new one, I think. I can't remember which one is the newest terminal, but we supplied equipment there, mainly scaffold towers, things like that. We've supplied materials into Buckingham Palace, Hampton Court, Windsor Castle when the fire happened there. Tower of London, we had one customer who was doing the maintenance there, and we went on. New Scotland Yard, the old headquarters. I used to have to go with my ID to get in to make deliveries. But number one, without question, is London 2012, the London Olympics. that we supplied 5 of the venues with materials, different scales. I mean, the aquatic centre, we supplied all the fixings to hold down the seating, as well as our clients using tools for hire, buying tools, that sort of thing. Greenwich Park, there was the show jumping there. I can't remember what that was called. I think it was called Greenwich Park. Well, we supplied all the timber. You know, that was a temporary arena. I don't know if you remember it at all, but there was a proper arena constructed. We supplied all the timber there, where our client built the arena, and obviously it was dismantled and disposed of afterwards. Where else did we supply? We had the O2. That was an existing venue, but they had to scale it inside to suit different events. So again, we supplied timber there where they partitioned things off. There's Earl's Court, Olympia. We supplied materials there, same as the O2. They had to break that down. And there was one more, Excel. That was the other one. We supplied the materials there as well. So it's 2 of our clients, our biggest clients, had various contracts on those 5 venues, and we went in with them simply because they were our clients and they trusted us.
I was going to say, so that's how you managed to get those particular jobs. It's your clients have been doing well, and your reputation, obviously, being able to scale to that level.
Well, this is an example of how to look after people to keep them satisfied. These 2 clients are clients that I knew from my Hilly days, and we'd stayed friends. They've carried on using us, and they use us to today. And we look after them on price, we look after them on service. You know, you build a reputation. They need to be able to call someone to know that if they phone Nick and they ask Nick for 10 screws at this job tomorrow, that they're going to be there. Mm-hmm. And with the Olympics, they weren't going to delay the Olympics for anyone. The Olympics was going to start on that date. It had to be delivered. Therefore, their materials had to be there. It wasn't a case of ringing one of the other merchants and they can't get it, or we can get that ordered for you, it's going to take 3 days. We if you remember, I stepped down from Vision for a while, and that was why I had to concentrate on it. And we used to get the calls every day, normally in the afternoon. This is what we want for tomorrow, and it was there. We didn't miss one delivery slot. The materials were there.
Wow.
And
that's the end of the day to you having it ready next morning.
Yeah, that's it. I was getting up at silly o'clock to make sure that everything was ready, and the vans were going to the Olympic Park. You couldn't go into the Olympic Park. You had to go to a waiting area in Barking where you were security checked. So obviously we weren't pre-checked, but you had to go there. They checked the vans, and then from there, you were then allowed to go into the Olympic Park to make the deliveries.
So you're saying that's all to do with then your previous clients then?
Well, they're not previous, they're current clients.
Current and previous.
Yeah.
But you met them a longer time ago.
Yeah.
How have you kept them so close? Is that a business process?
It's a natural process. If you do things correctly and do things properly, then there's no reason for you to lose a client. You know, obviously, we're all human. There's going to be situations where a price is wrong or something goes wrong, but it's how you deal with that, and it's how you deal with that is the most important thing. I mean, these are people that I've known and they've trusted us. We trust them for years, and it wouldn't occur to me to give them any amount of credit that they want because we've got that relationship. In fact, one of them is similar to us, where my son has come in and is pretty much taking it over now. He's actually got 2 sons, and they've pretty much taken over his company as well, and he spends most of his time in Ireland. And funnily enough, his sons used to play football with my son. So it's just a natural progress of moving on. But trust and is a massive element. I mean, you can shop around online and find any price you want, but there's no human element, if you know what I mean. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? That you've got to build relationships to keep this sort of business, and that's how it's done. I mean, you can go down the West End and go into any restaurant, and you'll see business people out for a meal, and they're meeting up and having a chat about everything except work, And then at the end of the oh, by the way, I want some of these, can you drop them off to me tomorrow? That's how business really works. You know, it's obviously you can have appointments, go and see buyers, you sit there, you talk about orders, but it doesn't give you the business.
You mentioned a really long list of like landmarks and name dropping there, Nick, which is really good. And obviously you mentioned that it's from two of your long-standing clients that got you in. I don't know if that was all of that list, but for any of those places or any other great jobs that you've done that didn't come from those clients, how else do you get in those kind of big jobs? Are you going out and presenting and tendering?
No, we're not. We've got our client base, and our client base is quite a quality level. I mean, you get your I'll choose my words carefully, but you get your plumbers, your electricians who do domestic work. We've also got a big clientele, bigger companies that tender for this type of work, council work, if you like, big office jobs, and we supply them with materials. We've supplied them with materials for a long while, and consequently, when they get a project, we follow in with them. You with me? That's where the trust element comes in, because they trust us to be able to look after them and supply them with their needs. We get many, emails every single day. We want this obscure item. When can you get it? And it's something that we don't deal with, but we find it for them. And I've supplied office chairs and tables, believe it or not, to some projects because they're going, oh, we need these here quick. I'll give Nick a ring, and we get it there for them. It's about service. Service is actually more important than price, in my opinion, because if you shop around and you save a tenner on 10 items, and it takes a day to get them on site, what does it cost you in labour time? Whereas, if you pay £50 more, I'm not saying we are that much more expensive, but if you pay £50 more, what have you lost in labour time? And your guy's standing around. And if you're on a timeline and you have to get a project on a certain day, you're moving away from that timeline all the time. Or the Emirates, I forgot the Emirates.
Oh, there we go, another name.
Any Arsenal supporters out there?
I was going to say, so now all the Tottenham supporters have just turned off, so thanks, Nick.
Divisive.
So you're saying basically, fundamentally, it boils down to the relationships and aligning yourself and your company brand with the kind of companies you want to be in with, kind of the bigger players, fundamentally, your ideal clients.
Of course. I mean, if you look at our shop from the outside, no one has got any indication of the level of business that we do. We do transact. From the outside, it just looks like a shop, but there's so much going on behind the scenes, which it happens because of our contacts. Because of the interaction we get. I mean, our contacts refer us to their contacts, and we get a lot. I've never ever had to go out and look for business, because our business has come for us through our contacts and through networking.
So you've got a lot going on behind the scenes, massively, as we know, but you've also got an incredible team, and it's very much a family-run business.
Well, it is, yeah.
So talk to us about that.
Okay, well,
I'll let you lead on where to start.
Okay, well, when I started Nilco, I started off the back of a van, and all the stock was in our garage at home. And as we got bigger, I rented more garages to store materials and everything. The loft was full of stock. So it was just me and my wife, Helen, that were doing everything. And before that, she wasn't really involved in the partnerships I had. I mean, she was, when the children were young, she was, at home with the children. She used to do the bookkeeping for our second business, but that was one day a week. So, but I had partners as well. So she wasn't, again, involved in the running of it, but bookkeeping is quite important. But when we started Nilco, it was different. It was just me and her, and we just had to muck in and do. But we are quite a good team. We do bicker, as I don't believe there's a husband and wife team that doesn't bicker. But
that's fair enough to say.
But we're a good team. I'm when I look at Helen, we are one. We're not two people. We're one. she runs our accounts now. And without her running it, I don't know where I'd be, because you need to have trust. But my son's come into the business. He's learned it. When he left school, we wanted him, like most Greek parents, we wanted all our children to go to university and get degrees and everything. But he was studying, and he wanted to get into banking, and he was a year into his degree, and he took a sabbatical, went to Falaraki, which is like like similar to our Napa. He was there for about 6 months, something like that. And then when he come back, I thought, right, okay, when you can go back to the degrees, son, I'll still a bit more time. And he said, I don't want to do it. I want to come in the shop. So he did, and that wasn't our plan. We wanted the idea of the business was to give us all a better livelihood to help our children. But we ended up with me, Helen, and Andrew in the shop. And Andrew's learned. He's a very good learner. He's brilliant. I have to say that. And he's been working really well. He's learned a lot. He's a fantastic networker, and he's bringing in some big clients now of his own. And between us, it's scaling it all up over there. Having said that, I'm 62 now. Do I want to carry on doing this? He's scaling it on his own.
Stop, Nick.
Why stop? Why stop? I think that's a really interesting thing. In my history, I've worked with or at various different family-owned businesses and had experience of different things. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that you are like this, but how do you reconcile the whole fact of having employing staff? Yeah. You are very well versed inside your business, and then they see the son or daughter come in, who eventually then is going to take over.
Yeah. It's a valid point, but in the case of all our staff, my son was there before them anyway. We haven't got any members of staff that joined us before Andrew. Right. So all the staff that are in there see him and me as the bosses. So it's a slightly different situation. Having said that, because we are growing, there is positions that people can scale themselves into. I mean, we've got one lad who's quite good. He's involved in quite a few different areas of the business, but we need to maybe focus him into one area and put him in charge of that. But everything. We've got 11 staff. Although we have scaled up, 11 staff is not really a massive amount in the scheme of things. When I had my first partnership, which was 40 years ago, we had 25 staff. But my dad always taught me that make it big by keeping it small. You don't have to have 100 staff and turn over 50 million. The important thing is to have something that you can control and that you're comfortable controlling, and that you can produce and make a good living with what you got. There's no point in turning over 10 million and having £9 million worth of costs. There's no point at all. And I've seen it so many times. When the children were young, they'd say, well, Helen as well, actually, funny enough, one time, she said to me, look at them, look how well they're doing. They're driving around in this and they're living there. And I said, well, people, what foundation have they got? How much money do they owe? And these particular people she was talking about, they lasted another 2 years. They went bust. Banks took over everything because everything was on borrowed money. Obviously you need to borrow money to get to where you want to be, but you got to balance it. You can't just borrow for the sake of it and have multiple expenses and not get anywhere. It's got to be at a certain level.
That's a really good point. Yeah, living too beyond your means.
Yeah, it's it. You've got to live within your means.
Because it does scare a lot of people, doesn't it, about how much you potentially have to borrow to scale and grow.
Well,
do you know
you
when
can,
you need to do that?
Yeah, but if you do you ever watch a program called Dragon's Den?
Yeah.
I mean, I love that program because when you watch the ideas that people come up with, and you got Theopophitis and what's his name, Peter Jones. They're fantastic. I mean, you need to create the base that's gonna how can I put it? That's gonna self-grow the business. So if you can produce the profit margin that's going to give you the scalability, then you don't need the banks.
Is this your biggest tip on how to scale a trade construction?
We've got no business loans. No business loans. We've got no overdraft, no business loans. And yet we're scaling up.
So everything is, it's all cash in the business.
Cash is not the wrong word. It's in the bank, but yeah, it is. But it's because we're doing the right things. I mean, this new warehouse that we've opened up is my son's baby, and it's fantastic. We should have perhaps did it years ago, but I wanted to keep hold of the cost and everything. But we've fully stocked it with timber and sheet, and we haven't borrowed one penny from the bank. We've done it with the business money. So what does that tell you? I mean, the fallacy is people come up, they start off in business, go to the bank, business plan, borrow money, do this, I need that money for this. And then you see them on Dragon's Den, well, what do you want the 50,000 for? Well, I want to do a market research plan or marketing plan. And they'll look at it and go, well, you're not going to do it with that amount of money and run the business and do this. It's just silly. You've got to start in a comfortable manner, build it up. Obviously, where you need it, you borrow where you can. But it's got to be affordable, and it's got to be at a certain level. The most important thing to scale up is to scale up the turnover with profit. Simple as that. It's not rocket science. Too many people chase things too quickly. You just got to do the fundamental basics. Patience, basics, things that, I mean, sometimes you could be lucky enough and a massive job will fall in your lap and it's there quickly. But in reality, it does take time. You've got to build it up, have a plan, where you want to get to and how you're going to get there. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with using banks, but it's got to come from your cash flow. It's got to come from your cash flow.
See, so I popped down to see you a couple of weeks ago because I was on the road meeting another client, and your shop doors are like revolving doors.
Oh yeah,
it's like this,
it's like
all
that all
day long.
And the phones as well.
So yeah, and I walked in and you've got your counter there. There was about 4 of you. That wasn't even you.
There's 4 of us serving.
And you had trades just all circling around. So you obviously speak to lots of trades boys on a daily basis and probably hear lots of conversations as well. What are you hearing from these guys when they're in your shop that's maybe one of their biggest challenges or problems that you keep listening into?
Well, I don't hear their problems, but the biggest factor that I can see, and that you get from most of them, is that most of them have too much work for the man hours that they've got. So you could say they haven't got enough staff. I'm not quite sure, but it's difficult because with the staff you've also got to have the right trained staff, and have you got the time to train them up to your level? Most of them, they're all saying how busy they are. So if you put it all together, it's work and having the right trained staff to deliver that work. That's the biggest problem that we're hearing. I mean, everything else, they come in and they moan about their wives.
Business.
Yeah, I advise them on that as well.
Obviously, bearing in mind, I know you've got family members that are part of your team, but you've got other team members that obviously aren't. How do you then approach that in your own business in terms of getting your team members to a level that obviously you can't replicate Nick Yiannoullou over and over, can you?
It's very, very difficult because me and my son, I mean, I like to think that he's learned off of me, and I can see the way he does things. I look at him, I think, oh, I used to do that, and I think, oh, hang on a minute. But when you look at it, it's very, very difficult because, to get the staff to your level, it takes a lot of training. And if you're trying to work, like you see how busy we are, you haven't got the time to do it. So how do you do it? I mean, they have to learn on their feet, first of all, or you can send them to various training within the industry, but even that doesn't teach you. I've learned over the years you can pay any amount of money to train people up, but there's no substitute for actually learning on the job, and picking things up from us and doing what you're told is the wrong word, but what I mean is taking on board what we're trying to teach you and learning. And if they've got the aptitude to do that, it will work. If they haven't, they won't. I mean, we've got staff that have got the aptitude, and you can see it. You can see it fairly quickly because I've been in it a long while. I can see when people are faking it and when people are not faking it. And if you see people that they might not be faking it, but they're trying, you can see there's something here that you can work with. I mean, we've had other staff that you can see, within a couple of weeks they've been working for you, that for whatever reason, it's never going to work out.
Mm.
But we've got one young lad working for us at the moment. I tease him quite a lot. Or John.
You were teasing him. Such a sweet
He's
chap.
a lovely kid, and we're persevering with him. He doesn't know a lot, but he's got the right attitude. And that's what it's about. If you've got the right attitude, you can pick everything else. Everything else can follow on.
Can you spot that quite early? If you
Unfortunately, when I was 20, I couldn't. But now that I've got all these grey hairs,
and I guess that's
so there's no substitute for experience.
The success of a company is for the boss and the director to be able to identify that kind of thing sooner, maybe rather than later.
True. We've got a trait. I mean, if you go to somewhere like Tesco, one of the big boys, they've got their system. You go in, if you're not performing, you're out. We're a lot more lenient. We give people the opportunity, the chance, and maybe we should be a bit more ruthless. And when you can see it's not working out, but we don't do that. I just can't. That's not me. We try and give people as much opportunity as possible, and sometimes it goes too far over the line. I mean, we had it recently with a driver. He was an absolutely lovely man. Can't speak highly of him. What a good person he was. And when he was there, his work was excellent. He used to do the deliveries, but he had these personal problems. I think it was to do with his health as well, but he had problems at home. And he'd work a week and then it wouldn't turn up for 2 or 3 days. They never ring me or text me, they would text Andrew, his son. It was probably, I'd say something different, I don't know. But anyway, they text, and I said, well, where's son? So they go, oh, he's text me, he's not in today. But that, because we are a small company, wherever we turn up, we're reliant on those 11 staff. So when he's not in, him on the counter has to go out and do his job. I have to come out from the back to do that one's job. And then when we close at 5:30, I'm there starting the work I should have done in the daytime. So I'm working till 10 or 11 at night. And how do you avoid these situations? With this particular person, we identified, and I said to my son, I said, look, it's not going to work. We've got to find someone else. But he does what I've always done. And go, oh, well, he's a good person. Let's give him a chance. Give him a chance. I'll have a chat with him. But it never works out. Unfortunately, when you come across a problem like that, a leopard never changes its spots, and you've really got to identify and put it right as early as possible, because it can be detrimental to your company and your health. So you've got to put that first. But I'm not always the first to do that. You always like to give people a try, but doing it correctly, you've got to do that. You've got to watch for that.
Well, you spoke earlier about balance, and one of the challenges I hear from a lot of my trades clients when they're working with their family is that there's never a cut-off. They'll be working all day and they'll be talking about work, and they come home and it's just work, and they sometimes lose their relationship.
Yeah.
You guys nailed that.
Yeah.
What do you do? You
well,
give some advice?
I've never brought... I do come home with work that needs to be doing, and I'll be sitting in the kitchen catching up just as I'm on top of it. Because I like to finish the day with everything done that I've started off. But I've never ever brought work home. In other words, I come home, I'll sit down, we'll talk, we'll eat, watch the telly or something. But I never sit down and say, oh, Helen, what about that today? Or what about that? Or what is this? Because that's finished. As soon as that door's locked, I can turn off.
So you have this strict rule that it's home time.
It's not a rule. That's what I've always done. When I come home, I can turn off. Helen doesn't. I mean, I will come home and she's now doing work at home, and then she might not be talking to me, and I go, well, what's the matter with you?
Well, actually, you've hit on exactly the point I was trying to make. In that, from the guy, I work mainly with the directors or the founders of the trades teams, right? And they're bringing their partners on board. Yeah. And in our marketing sessions, I'm regularly hearing from these guys that I'm coming home and. Let's call her Jane for this example. Jane starts straight away and she's like, John, have we done this today? And have we done that? And John just wants to. It's
she doesn't do that.
Cut off. So how
John just wants to cut off.
How would John sort of nicely say to Jane, darling, I love you, but it's gone 6:30. Let's.
Yeah, no, she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that. I mean, we both bring paperwork home. We're both guilty of bringing paperwork because we want to be on top of everything. But you do it. We don't sit there and talk about a problem or this happened or that happened. But if I've like, when you're busy, I don't do it on purpose, but you're focused and you run around saying, maybe sometimes you can say things abruptly. And because it's your wife or partner, you tend to do it more to them. She does it to me, I do it to her. Whereas when it's finished, cut off, I don't think nothing of it. She does. She will come home and she says, and I go, what's the matter with you? She goes, well, you said that to me today. You know what I mean? So I didn't mean it.
So is it? But that's. I mean, I think it's a brilliant thing. But is that a personality thing? Because I know, on various different things. Apparently, my personality type is to overthink things, which then leads you to try and think about these things in the evenings and stuff. But do you have to train yourself to just stop, or
no? I've never. It's just natural. Yeah, I've never had to train myself to stop. It's just that's the way it is. Helen is a hothead Greek woman, and so whatever we're doing, whatever it is, whatever is in front of her, that's how she's going to deal with it. She takes things personally. She does. She's
going to love this podcast.
Oh, I know. Right? I don't take things personally. I try not to anyway. But that's just people's nature, isn't it? You just got to learn. You just got to work with it. You got to remember though that you're both doing it for the same reason, the same common cause, and that's what you focus on. Because it can be dangerous where you can then start attacking each other because of something. You must never let it get to that situation. And we have our moments, but we've never let it. It's never got that far. It's never got like that. We've always been the team or the firm.
Stronger together. Yeah. Don't let anyone outside the family know what you're thinking.
No, I don't.
Godfather.
No, well...
That is his actual nickname.
That is my nickname.
In our business meeting, Nick is actually called the Godfather.
Yeah, no, I don't do it on purpose. That's just the way it is, maybe it's my makeup, I don't know.
But I think that it's a strength, isn't it? And if there was a sort of a little miracle formula, so to speak, that could then be relayed out to other trades professionals that are just bringing their partners on board now. You and Helen kind of started together, right?
Yes, we did.
I guess that's the difference. Sometimes the challenges I'm hearing at the moment is John, the director, has had the company for 10 years doing it solo. Suddenly Jane is able to leave work now and wants to come on board. So John's been doing things a certain way for 10 years. And Jane obviously has lots of skills and things from her line in the corporate world, for example, and wants to implement stuff. And then that's where that crossover can be a bit dangerous.
Yeah, it can be. Obviously that's difficult because she's the wife or husband, it could be either way. Because they're the partner, they have that much extra power, don't they? So, or influence is probably a better word. So they feel that you should listen to them and do that. Well, we started it together, and we both know our skill sets, and it's just that's how it's developed. Just when I get told off,
good at taking it. Yeah,
I'll take it.
He does get told off.
But she'd tell you it goes over my head. I don't, just because she tells me off, I don't go cow in the corner.
Like we say, Helen is the brains of this operation, and Nick's it's T-boy, as we like to say. You both work really hard.
I actually used to make a good cup of tea in my dad's cafe.
Okay, today's was good.
Yeah, very good.
Today's was very good.
Yeah.
And thanks for inviting us into your home.
That's all right. You're welcome.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
So that's everything wrapped up today. Did you want to give any one pearl of wisdom to finish for our trade and construction
pearl
boys
of wisdom.
that are listening?
You know what?
I know you've got loads.
No, the biggest thing that bothers me, and I've experienced actually personally recently, never let anyone down. I won't say what someone let us down recently, but never let anyone down. If you promise something, you've got to do it. If someone rings you up with a problem after you've done something, go and sort it out. Your reputation will grow enormously. And I'm going to mention Charlie Sindula here because he done something. He's in our group. He done something absolutely fantastic a few years ago. Something went wrong with his sign, and he put it right. And it cost him thousands, but he put it right because his reputation was more important than the money. So that's my tip. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't let anyone down. If there's problems afterwards, go and sort it out, because you will reap the reward.
Actually, I think John had one more thing he wanted to ask.
Yes. So, as you are now, if you got into that time machine and transported back,
Oh God, yeah.
all those years to when you're just starting out to a younger you, what's the one piece of advice you'd give that younger you?
Well, I'll tell you what I wouldn't do again is I would, because when I started the first business, I started with partners. I wouldn't start with partners again.
Right.
I would start on my own. If I'd have started on my own all them years ago, I would. Nilco would now, instead of being a 26-year company, would be a 40-year company, and we would have been where we are now 15 years ago.
Wow.
The thing is, when you're young, I don't know if you lack confidence, but you perhaps lack know-how, and you go into business with other people looking for strength from them. But what you don't realise is they're looking for the same strength from you. So you could have done it on your own. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going into partnerships, because there are many people that do them and they do work. But for me, that's the one thing I would never go into a partnership. Well, the only partnership I'm in is with Helen.
The only one you need.
Yes,
that's the only one I need. Yeah. Oh, she actually told me once when we finished with the second partnership. She said that if you ever go into another partnership, she's going to string me out.
Honest speaking, there you go.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Nick.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's all for this time, but don't worry, we'll be back with more soon. Stay tuned for new episodes at marketingsimplified.co.uk.